Facebook catches up. Sound right?
Yes.
Hi, Barbara.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. Morning, Armand.
Good morning, Christine.
What's that behind you? L1 Una?
Yeah, but my technician just put it up upside down, so we'll fix it by the next meeting.
I
Yeah.
can feel the power. It doesn't look upside down this way.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Really?
okay.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
looks great.
Good. Yeah,
Liona, I love it.
That'll be our
Looks
theme.
good.
for the meeting.
that's our
Feel the
brand.
power.
Everything is orange and blue. We branded years ago, and it's really worked out well for us.
Well, we will adopt Feel the Power for our committee
Yep,
meeting agenda.
That's our slogan, feel the power.
I imagine we are now going live, and so I want to welcome everyone to the January 14th, 2021 meeting of the University of Rhode Island Advancement and External Affairs Committee of the URI Board of Trustees. At this time, I'm going to take a roll call attendance to determine if we have a quorum present. I believe we do, so we'll do this quickly. Just please respond present when I say your name. Christine Heenan, I'm here. Armand Sabatoni.
Present.
Karina Edmonds.
Present.
Courtney Nicolato.
Present.
Autumn.
Present.
Gindi. Okay, so ex officio members Margot Cook, Michael McNally, and David Dooley, I believe, are also attending. I have not seen Mike yet, but I do see President Dooley and our fearless chairwoman.
Christine, Mike is going to be attending the Institutional Risk Committee, which is happening simultaneously.
Got it. All right. So with a quorum present, we're going to call the meeting to order and remind members to identify yourself whenever you make a motion or second a motion for the purpose of the minutes. The first agenda item is acceptance of the agenda. May I have a motion for the University
This is
of
Armin, I
Advancement?
move it.
Great.
I move the agenda.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second that.
That's Karina Edmonds. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. I'll ask for a vote in favor.
Aye.
Great. The agenda item passes. The motion passes. Agenda item 2 is approval of the minutes. May I have a motion that the URI External Affairs Advancement Committee of the URI Board of Trustees approve the minutes of our December 16th special meeting of our committee?
This is Armin, I move them.
This is Courtney, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion to approve the minutes has been approved. And the next item, we're very close to getting into our substance of our meeting today, is discussion items. We have a number of really good and interesting updates for us to have and then to discuss. I want to get right into it. The first is Lil O'Rourke presenting an update on the Big Ideas Bold Plans campaign. And I will turn it with that over to Lil.
Thank you very much, Christine. It's nice to see everybody. My colleague is going to put up her screen, and I'm going to walk us through some slides. I'm going to give you an update on the campaign and 2 other initiatives that I introduced you to at the September meeting. So the next slide, it's a reminder that we are in a campaign. Our stated public goal is 250 million. And next slide will show where we are towards that goal. We have raised, as of calendar year end, December 31st, 192.7 million towards our goal of 250 million. And the graph on the left shows the source of the gifts, which is something we track carefully. You'll see that some are outright gifts. That's a multi-year pledge. That's cash. Pledges, 72 million, and then deferred gifts. So comprehensive campaigns like this do 2 things. They not only raise current use dollars, but they also solidify the institution for the future by having a good pool of deferred gifts that will come in over the next 20 to 40 years. So this campaign will have a long shelf life in terms of building the endowment over time for the university. Questions for me about chime in anytime with questions, but we'll also have time at the end for questions. Next slide. I want you to see this beautiful trend line. This is a beautiful thing. We're above the trend line for the campaign to be on track to raise $250 million by the end of 2024. That's been our plan ever since this campaign started. And it'll move up and down a little bit, but we're feeling very positive that despite COVID and all the challenges, we are remaining above the trend line. We ended the calendar year strong, and we're entering 2021 strong too. We have a good amount of proposals in the pipeline. And one of the real great pieces of information about this campaign is since the start of the campaign, we have attracted over 11,000 new donors to the university. We have many, many more donors who are loyal multi-year donors, but we have attracted over 11,000 new donors to the university from friends, alumni, parents, and corporations and foundations. So that's a great another piece of sort of the pipeline for the campaign and for the future.
Lil,
Questions about the campaign?
Oh, Lil, this is Courtney. Thank you. And this is unbelievable. Congratulations. Quick question for you. Is this traditional to how higher ed is seeing fundraising right now? Is this the unicorn in that process? What are you hearing?
Well, great question, Courtney. And first of all, thank you for your bequest to the university. We appreciate your support. Actually, fundraising to universities overall is up. We're in a pretty frequent touch with our campaign consultants, Washburn and McGoldrick, and they are doing periodic surveys of their client base. It's up. What's interesting is much of the focus of giving is shifting to immediate need and immediate use to support students, particularly in financial aid, who couldn't work. And that was our Rhody Now Scholarship campaign to support the university's commitment of additional dollars. But higher ed giving is continuing to trend upward. So that's a great sign for all of us. So happily, we're not a unicorn. Other questions about the campaign? Okay, thank you. Next.
Lola, could I unmute quick enough?
Sure.
Just the percentage of alums, you're seeing that trend go up as well for giving?
Oh, it is going up. We're still very low, Karina, in terms of the percentage of URI alumni that give. That's not an uncommon statistic for state universities, but URI has been low, and that's something we're really working on through our young alumni outreach to build that pipeline for the future. But that continues. And what's happening is we've attracted a lot of new donors, but nationally, number of donors to universities is dropping. So fewer people are giving bigger gifts. And we are definitely part of that trend. But as I look at, we set the goals for number of donors for this year. We're on track with last year. And so we saw last year sort of that COVID test, and now we're on track to meet last year. So we feel pretty good about that. But that's an ongoing challenge for universities.
And I'll just note that that's
you.
also overall in the fundraising space. We're finding less donors are giving more. That's very traditional and has been for the last few years. So I think higher ed mirrors the overall nonprofit sector in that realm.
Yeah, it's a troubling trend, and everybody's scratching their head and trying to figure out how to address it. And I don't think anybody, at least in the higher ed forum, has figured it out yet.
I'd love to note for the minutes, though, that participation as a goal is something that we want to tackle as a committee and see if we can help move the dial on. Thank you very much, Lil. Seeing no further questions, I'm going to ask that we get to our next update on the agenda. Lil, did you have some more?
Christine, I have two more quick things, so let me just move quickly through them. Just to mention, part of the capital campaign are 5 capital projects. That's something that either that we're fundraising for. So that's A&E for Ballantyne Hall for the College of Business, Ocean Engineering, the big project for the Narragansett Bay campus. That's part of a bond, but there's also a private fundraising component. All of athletics, basketball practice facility is through private fundraising. and Arts and Sciences Rangel Hall renovation, as well as Fine Arts. That's a bond item, but we also have private fundraising for that. And then I got two other quick things I'll fly through. Just to remind everybody, and I mentioned it in September, we are rebranding the annual fund, which really that's sort of inside baseball. It really, what does that mean, annual fund? We're rebranding it to Rhody Now. So that's immediate use, immediate impact dollars. And that's where we need to increase our number of donors. So as of January 1, our marketing office really worked hard. And that's what you'll see from us now when we're soliciting for immediate use and immediate impact dollars. It's Rhody Now. So it would be Rhody Now Scholarship, Rhody Now College of Nursing, that kind of thing. And then I think there's one more quick slide. I teed up for you in September that we were launching Career Connect. We did a very quick launch of a alumni online Career Connect program, launched in September. We are now at over 1,000 advisors and over 1,300 advisees. We see this as a very important way to keep our younger alumni connected, to serve the class of 2020 and the class of 2021 particularly, and it engages our alumni. And we see this as a good feeder for future donors. And I think that's the end. So thanks, Christine, and thank you, everybody.
First of all,
Christine,
sorry for jumping the gun. Second of all, and I'm looking at Margot here and at Kelly, I do think it could be a very interesting earned media opportunity if we chose a day or a week that the entire board participated in Career Connect. And I'll give an hour of our time or something to students looking to hear about our careers. I suspect that would be really novel and a great way to bring attention to the program.
Christine, this is Ahmed. I have one question of Lil. Lil, do we have a focus on season ticket holders as far as donations? Do we focus in on that class? Are they good or not good?
Well, we certainly do. Season ticket holders are always asked to support athletics through the RAM Fund, and that's something that the athletics fundraising team does work on. There probably could be more done, but that is certainly a fundraising component of our operation, is anybody who's a season ticket holder, to ask them to add more to their support. And we see them as candidates for the basketball facility. So that's a great feeder for fundraising for that facility.
Are they generous even toward the sports?
Yeah, I think, we always want more, Armin, but I think people understand the need that the ticket doesn't cover the cost of the program. And that they, if they want to continue to have a real quality program to participate in, we need their support.
Well, if you can ever draw down on that, I hear enough complaints from them. I want to just see what they're doing for donations.
All right, Armin, I'll offline reach out to you and we can talk more about it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, a last call for questions from Lil. All right, hearing none, I am going to turn it over to Linda Chardo and Heather Colby to give us an update on our marketing and communications plan. Some of you who joined our December special meeting, we can hear some of this overview. So over to Linda and Heather.
Oh, thank you, Christine. Your audio is in and out. Okay, thank you. And thank you for your time today. As we head into 2021, we wanted to share with you the communications and marketing activities that are broadly reflected here for the upcoming calendar year. As we know, we have a higher education bond referendum that's expected to be voted on in March, and Kelly will be sharing an overview of that bond process in this meeting today. Throughout the year, you can see that recruitment is basically ongoing, with key pressure points in terms of application and yield deadlines. And in addition to the many touch points that are delivered by the Office of Admission and Enrollment Management, the fall effort is supported by a multi-week advertising campaign in our key markets. A Rhode Island recruitment advertising flight launched this Monday. It may be a spot that you might have seen out in the marketplace, and it will continue through the end of January. It was developed primarily to target influencers of prospective students in Rhode Island. As you can see, our primary and premier publication, the University of Rhode Island Magazine, is produced 3 times a year. Digital version and a print version that's mailed to over 130,000 alumni and other key stakeholders. Throughout the year, you have received all of our e-blasts and digital newsletters that are published every couple of weeks to keep our community informed. Next slide. Heather? The next slide.
Well, Dr. Giacomo.
Whoops. Need the next slide. Thank you. Our Roadie Together public health campaign and the COVID communications will likely continue to define this upcoming semester, if not the year. In terms of the U.S. News and World Report, currently in development is a digital piece that we will be sending to the academic leaders that we've identified voting in the U.S. News and World Survey. This is obviously in an effort, as we discussed the last time, to influence the expert opinion ranking. And we will be using some of the stronger data points from the survey. The College of Nursing, for example, was ranked 66 out of 578 by U.S. News and World Report, placing it in the top 11% nationally among colleges of nursing. And the College of Pharmacy, as you may know, ranks 8th out of 143 programs nationally for total research funding. And our College of Pharmacy is the only program in New England to make the top 20. One of the pieces that will be included in this communication to those academic leaders is the development of a COVID test here at URI by pharmacy professor Angela Slitt. You may have seen that piece in the Momentum magazine, and you will see more of that news rolling out in the next couple of weeks. Spring and fall clearly are the busiest times of the year for us, and many of these events, like the Terracotta Lecture Series, the Amanpour Lecture Series, have been and will continue to be delivered virtually. We did experience high levels of participation, more than 13,000 views for the most recent Amanpour lecture with Ed Young. In the spirit of ideas worth sharing, TED has created a program called TEDx. It's a local self-organized event that follows the national TED guidelines and brings people together to share a TED-like experience. This is the 3rd year the College of Business has sponsored TEDx, and the 1st year it'll be offered online. We'll also host the 5th annual Rhode Island Food Summit, taking the lead, improving food access in a global pandemic, how the pandemic has affected our state and our nations, food security, and what steps can be taken to address the crisis. It's a 3-hour event on January 20th, starting at 9 a.m. and concluding at noon. Campus culture is not an event, but it's an initiative. It's a survey that will take place in the spring to help inform our next diversity action plan as we continue to work toward creating a welcoming and inclusive environment here at URI. Our premier lecture series, the Honors Colloquium, as you know, brings relevant and timely issues to the community and the public at large. This past year's topic on disability to this upcoming year's theme, sustaining our shores, climate changes, and coast in crisis. The topics that are all offered in all of these events certainly contribute to help shaping the dialogue within our community. The next slide. Our content is focused on the success, as we've said before, the achievements, the innovation, and the creativity of our faculty, our students, and our alumni. We continue to identify ways to distinguish the university among its peers, and although we promote across all disciplines, health, ocean, and environmental sciences are areas of strength that help to bring attention to the university overall. There's a great deal of coordination across the colleges in the development of stories that convey our big thinking and our relevance. Recognition of the breadth, depth, and quality of our research is certainly an important goal. We carry those themes into our direct communications, our media relations, our social media, our web, and in our recruitment advertising, which leads us to Heather Colby, our Assistant Director for Brand Management and Advertising. Heather is a graduate of the Syracuse University Whitman School of Business and Management, and she came to us 5 years ago. She's brought extensive experience with her in the corporate side, and we're very fortunate to have her as a key member of our team. Heather will review our strategy, planning, creative, and the execution of our undergraduate advertising campaign. Heather?
Heather taking over from here.
Yes, sorry. My mute button was on, of course, because that's what we do these days. Thank you very much for the intro, Linda. And having some technical difficulties here. Okay. Sorry. Okay, thank you everyone for having us today, and thank you for the lovely introduction, Linda. I am going to walk us through the recruitment campaign process. It's one of our most important marketing campaigns and investments that we have here at the university. We do focus a lot on our branding and make sure that that comes through the entire process, including our research and our global thinking. I'm going to walk you through our timing, a flighting trend, markets, and the investments that we make in those markets. Our 2020 creative, that is Tomorrow Needs You Today, that is our theme. A tactical breakdown, a media flow, and then snapshots of each tactic as I go through them, and then our next steps for 2021. It should be noted that we work very closely with our enrollment management and admissions departments to create a full marketing campaign, which includes everything from traditional TV all the way through to print materials and emails and social media. The objective of the campaign is really to create interest and to have students apply with the intent to enroll. So the first slide here we have is our recruitment campaign flighting trend. You can see down the side, the left-hand side, we have 2016 through 2020. Across the top, we have the months of the year, and then we have the markets built in here. Each of these color blocks represents the timing that we had for each of the flights. Our general timing is between when the Common App opens, which is August 1st, through early action deadline, which is December 1st. So you can see most of our planning and our execution goes from September, mid-September through the end of November. You can see from the markets on the side, we have everything from New Jersey to Philadelphia, Chicago. We added Northern Virginia a few years ago. And this year in 2020, you'll see down here at the bottom, we really stayed a little bit closer to home. You'll see New York, New Jersey. We added Boston, Hartford, New Haven, and Philadelphia. Any questions on this slide before we move forward? Okay. So this is a very quick snapshot of our creative Tomorrow Needs You Today. The thought process behind this, given the circumstances of COVID, was to show people the resilience at URI and showcasing some of our key branding items like research and student life. So you can see here, it goes from left to right, top to bottom. Here you can see we have a student in the library. She moves into the archives room and she's very curious about what she's doing. She moves into some archives where you can see multiple images. These are just a few snapshots from the creative, multiple images of our science, our research, our student life, and the arts and sciences and nature. And then we move to a beautiful campus shot, which is very iconic for us. And then we showcase a few of the professors that we have here on campus, from pharmacy to cells to engineering. Again, a few snapshots here, moving back to the student and having her head on in the spot. And then we move to the end where we have our logo and our tagline, Think Big, We Do. So here is a 2020 recruitment campaign breakdown of our total media spend and our buy. So you can see here we have digital for 56% of the buy, where traditional is 44%. I'm just noting here on the bottom, from 2019 to 2020, our digital spend has gone up. We like the fact that we can track our digital tactics. So we are starting to invest more in those. We can see where students are coming from and which creative pieces are working the best for us. And we optimize that as we go along. You can see the 2020 digital breakdown here, that 56% of the spend breaks down with 40% digital video, 35% social media, 20% search, and 5% display. Here's our media flow chart. So again, it's just a snapshot of what our trend was, our trend chart above from the previous slide. You can see down the left here, we have traditional TV, cable, and out of home, and digital. We have digital video, social media, search, and display. Across the tops, we have the months, and then we also have the markets in here. So New York, New Jersey, Boston, Hartford, New Haven, Philadelphia, Southern New Jersey. You can see we have a very good integrated campaign that's happening between mid-September to mid-November. This year, we opted not to do billboards. You can see here we have out of home. There is nothing listed there. We decided to invest more in our digital and trackable components. And you'll also see here search. This is the first time that we were able to invest in our search keywords from mid-September through February 1st, which is the final application deadline. This is our TV strategy. You can see lots of logos here. Our strategy is to drive awareness and activates our digital campaign. So we have a strong reach with high-profile programs like NBC, Good Morning America. I don't know if any of you have seen it here in Rhode Island or across these other states, but we do have a good presence in the marketplace with about 80% reach and seeing it somewhere between 3 and 4 times. So our local cable, you can see there, we have HGTV, ESPN, the Food Network, and then we are also reaching cord cutters with the live TV components within each of those apps.
Heather, this is Al Barkia. I saw the ad and I thought they were pretty good. The one thing that troubled me though is they were running our ad adjacent to the Rhode Island College ad. Is that planned that way, or do we have any control over that?
It is not planned that way. I can check in and see if we can actually control that. I know Rick has spots out and CCRI has spots out right now. So there are only so many spots that you can see, that you can have for local spots in that area for our current campaign that's only running in Rhode Island. I hear what you're saying.
That's a good flag, Al. And Heather, I would just see if we can make part of the media buy requirements around adjacencies, just the way you don't want to be adjacent to other certain ads. So I thank you for looking into that. And thank you, Al, for the flag.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Heather, can I ask a question? This is Mayrai Gindi. Is the inverted pyramid, the triangle that we're seeing now, does that represent the amount of ads being placed in the different categories? So the top one is more space is devoted to the traditional programs?
It does. Let's see. Hold on. I have some of that here.
So as you're looking for, I'm wondering if it could be inverted actually. So a lot of the students now, I don't know, a lot of people that watch these Jeopardy and ABC and I don't know, the YouTube, I think Sling, a lot of people have sort of disconnected from cable. So I'm wondering if there is any strategy toward inverting the triangle.
And I misspoke because I was thinking about digital video. So I will correct myself in saying that this is kind of placed. The difference between TV and local cable, we do spend more on traditional broadcast than we do on cable. There's a difference there. But as it reaches cord cutters, you can think of splitting that out between cable and TV because those shows are represented on there. So I can find out the specifics on where the spending lands, but they are represented kind of across the board. And certainly taking into account your comment there about knowing that many people are moving to cord cutting, but we have to make sure that we understand that we're reaching guidance counselors, influencers, and parents who still may have cable boxes.
And Heather, this is Diane. Sorry, Courtney.
Go ahead, Diane.
It's accurate as well that it costs more at the top of the pyramid, right?
Yes.
I mean, to invest in TV at the top, for every dollar you spend, it costs a penny down at the bottom. Over exaggeration, but point made, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a certified cord cutter myself, I will tell you I've seen the ads via Hulu Live. So, and watching the various news outlets that you have listed above, they are coming through. The other question I had for you, Heather, is what about culturally significant organizations or media outlets like Telemundo, and do we have a strategy around supporting our communities of color, particularly around our recruitment campaign?
We are building a strategy and looking into that. We don't have one specifically right now. We don't have it listed here, but I can definitely give you an update on that in the future, because I definitely feel like that's a market we can expand in. And certainly, you know, as we look at our budgets, when we start to look at things, we want to have a nice mix, and we want to make sure that we're also reaching people in maximizing the dollars. So where you take away from one thing, you put it into another. So certainly, that was Courtney, right?
Yes, it was.
It's hard to see everybody here. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else on this slide? Okay. So I'm going to move into our search strategy, which is program engagement. So if you see here, we have this blocked off in 4 blocks. They are by market. So you see New York, New Jersey at the top. Then we have Boston on the right. At the bottom, we have Philadelphia, Hartford, New Haven. If we look at New York, New Jersey for a second, we can see the different campaigns that we do our search strategy for. So we're fulfilling our general URI, like if people were just searching for great schools in New England or something like that. Then we have our ocean sciences, where we gear towards GSO and cells and things like that. Then we have communications, health sciences, engineering, theater, environment and life science, and brand. So these are very specific dedicated buckets where we have specific keywords that we are drawing upon for people to click through. I will just click to the next slide here, where it showcases, you see where people are familiar with us. So Boston and then Hartford and New Haven, they are getting to the brand ads quicker because they might be doing a more direct search. Where in New York and New Jersey and Philadelphia, they end up landing on our more general keyword there. So the other thing I wanted to say about that is you can see our click-through rates for these search are New York was 7.3. And then Boston, 13.4. If you just take a look at those, the education industry average for click-through rates on search is 3.78%. So we're doing very well with those spots at the top of our search funnel here. It also, our average across the board for click-through rate was 3.85, which is still above the 3.78, which is really good, which means that our keywords are working and we're optimizing them as we go along here. We continue to optimize them every year. We update, we add new search terms. But if we take out Philadelphia, where it's a little bit further away, people may not be as familiar with us, our average click-through rate is 4.22. So these are just some preliminary numbers from our current 2020 recruitment campaign that ended in December that I wanted to share with you today, just to give a little movement. We are still waiting for the final report from the media agency as our search is running through February. So I just wanted to share some of these highlights with you. Any questions on search? Okay, 2020 recruitment campaign digital video strategy is to engage through programmatic placements. We have a 72% completion rate on the videos that we put out. You can see the many different platforms that we are driving these videos to. Our social strategy is to optimize for all the creative that we have. So we have several different static components that we put out and static creatives that we put out in the marketplace. I won't read off all the numbers here, but you can see for Facebook, for example, there are 13 million impressions that we got, and the completed views of the video was 280,000. So the social strategy is to engage parents and students on these multiple platforms. Snapchat and TikTok are both tests for us this year, which we feel like we did fairly well, given the fact that for TikTok, we served 500,000 impressions and we got 488,000 completed views. And when we think about social, we do put out our videos that are somewhere between 6 seconds and 15 seconds. And we don't really go any longer than that when we think about social, because people are not sitting through those. But we want to make sure we are reaching the parents and also reaching Gen Z at the same time.
And Heather, I can imagine, this is Courtney, this is a moving target every year, right? This ebb and flows based on the trends of the utilization of these tools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do the digital ads end with a click through to our homepage or our admissions page?
Yes, that's a great question. We actually have a specific landing page that goes along with the campaign. So it's not just sending people to the homepage, it's sending them to a specific funnel. So when you land, you could click on any of those search terms that we looked at before. We have different creative as well made for those. When you click on that, it will take you to a specific piece. So if you clicked on an engineering search term, or you clicked on an engineering ad, whether it was a video or whether it was a static creative visual, you will be directed directly to an engineering piece. So it is very, very highly detailed and coordinated to make sure that if you're interested in engineering, we're not sending you to the homepage where you don't know where you land. It's very specific. And then from there, we have them go through to connect with us, connect with an admission advisor. So those are that's where we direct people.
That's very helpful, Heather, and smart. I assume we have channel specific landing pages or bit.lys that allow us to know this many came from Facebook or versus this many came from Snapchat.
Yes, our web team does a great job in tracking all of that. We also have analytics that come through from the agency. So we marry up all the numbers, which, as you know, can be varied at times, but we marry them up to make sure that we have a good average of what we're looking at, and then we modify for the next year, modify and adjust.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So our display strategy, we continue to see smaller investments in this because we want to get a little more engagement out of people, but we do still have a display strategy where it is generating awareness, and we do use the retargeting that helps us with people who have already shown interest with the University of Rhode Island. So behavioral here lands user, or I'm sorry, we are serving the ads and the videos to people who are based on their likes and interests. So if they were on a certain platform, it could be served to them. Contextual would be where we serve an ad to a person who might be on a college education, a financial aid page, something like that. And then retargeting, of course, if they had been to our website previously, then we serve them a new ad, as you have all experienced with retail. Super fun when they're hunting you down. So that is a strategy that we use, and you can see all the components at the bottom and all the different channels that our agency uses to get us to these places in connection with our students, potential students. So recruitment planning and next steps. We look forward to receiving the final report from JL Media sometime within the next few weeks. As Linda mentioned, the television spot is in Rhode Island right now. This is an effort that we put together with enrollment management, reaching out to students who are in Rhode Island and making sure that they still understand all the great things that are happening at URI. Built through for, the main messages that are there really were about hope, ambition, passion, research, all about you. It's decided by you. I think many of you have seen the ad, so that's exciting. And it really is a little more upbeat and hopeful versus where our ad in the fall was a little more conservative and thinking about the steadfastness of URI. So our February 1 application deadline is coming up very quickly. We're working very closely with admissions to fulfill what we need there from a social media perspective. They continue to send out many different pieces that Dean Labouty and his team are working very hard on and securing all those applications and maintaining for this year. And then yield season, we support admissions through May 1st and the deposits. And of course, that continues all the way through to the next cycle. So as I have different bullets here colored in blue, February 1st, we already begin the strategy for the fall recruitment campaign. We want to draft the creative brief, identify programs to market. We work with admissions to identify those programs that we get into the search funnel that you saw there and the different creatives that go along with that. And then we want to shoot the creative while the students are still on campus. So we make sure we get some good qualified students who can help us represent the brand in the best light possible on a TV spot, digital video, different creatives, things like that. And then we begin the budget process and approval process for finalizing everything that we need to actually begin to roll out the new campaign for the fall.
And Heather, this is Courtney.
I have one question on Courtney, you go first.
Oh, sorry, Christine. Thank you. When you do have the final report, is there year-over-year comparisons? I'd be curious, as you know, I know that admissions is something that we've been looking really closely at. Admissions are up, but we also know that's trending down overall in higher education. I'm assuming y'all look at not only the impact of that year, but also do year-over-year comparisons, and will we be able to see that?
Yes, absolutely. I would be more than happy to share that with you. We do get year-over-year comparisons, and that obviously helps influence how we proceed in the next campaign.
Wonderful.
And so, just like the media flow chart up front, we certainly look at it year over year and look at the trends that are happening as well, so that we can shift the investment dollars and be as efficient as we can with the money that we have.
Heather, my question has to do with trends, and one phenomenon that's been noted about COVID-19 and the wall-to-wall coverage of it is increased interest in the health professions. And between our nursing school, our pharmacy school, allied health, are we doing anything to lean into our offerings there in how we're reaching prospective undergrads and graduate students?
So at this time, we don't have the dollars to lean into something like that. But certainly, I mean, it is definitely on trend. I can tell you that URI Online, which is a new arm of the university, has been spending dollars for our healthcare management program. So that has definitely been out in the marketplace. And Sean Holt is our marketing manager on that. And he's been doing a really good job working with the same media agency that we're working with, so we can compare all the data that we have. So we do have some initial data on our healthcare management program, but we haven't broached that from a broader perspective, to your point.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, this is Mary Guinea. Can I ask a question about whether your team monitors new programs or majors that are coming out by other institutions that students are starting to search or they're interested in? Do we know? Do we have that information?
I'm sorry, I missed part of that. Can you just ask the question one more time?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do we have any information, or do we collect information about majors, specific majors or programs that students are searching for online?
We get some of that information through our media agency. Yes, I don't think we have a dedicated lookout for that per se, but when we think about putting our ads together, we do identify what's hot in the marketplace that is relevant to the programs that we're looking at buying keywords on, so we can make the best investment, the most efficient investment, I should say. And our agency is very good at helping us identify some of those keywords that will be most targeted. So for example, healthcare is a very broad range. So we don't want to, hit on things that might not be as specific to what we're offering. But certainly they could help us identify what some of those hotter I think you're getting to the point of like majors that might be hotter in the marketplace that people are searching for.
Right. And if URI offers that major, then we would target, have some sort of ad that's targeted or something close to it. And if we don't offer that major, if that information is relayed to the academic division, and then perhaps we can think about that. But it would be nice to know, and I'm sure maybe I just don't know, but it would be nice to know what people are sort of gravitating towards or what other peers are sort of putting out at the time.
Mary,
yeah, and I also think that we could work with, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was just gonna, Mary, to address your question from the academic offerings perspective, the university has been working with Hanover Research through the Division of Academic Affairs to do just what you're asking about, which is to identify in both the national and regional marketplace what are the hot majors, particularly in the online environment. And the university has been working with Hanover for a number of years now, targeting where the University of Rhode Island has a specific niche opportunity based on what is available in the marketplace regionally and nationally. And so you'll see in the URI Online marketing and advertising efforts, it is very specific and it targets specific programs, and that is all backed up by the research that's been provided to us as to where URI has an opportunity to fill a gap in the marketplace.
Thank you to both.
Thank
This is
you.
Karina. I have a quick question, Heather. Do you guys ever use on the social media platform like students for, as influencers?
Yes. So as it pertains to our admission pages and our admission posts, there are often times throughout the year where we do Instagram live Q&As and we have the students come in and give their perspectives, and we don't hand it over to them per se, to your point. There's a lot of branding at stake, if you will, to be able to use influencers freely in that way. And this year certainly has been a challenge because you can't, we're just not all connected and able to kind of bring everything that we want to do. Yes. And so to answer your question, we have been looking into influencers, but we have been bringing students in to be able to help us out in terms of getting that student perspectives to students. So that's where we are with that at the moment.
And one last, is there a spot on campus, like some kind of Instagram spot that people can use or that you've created, like either people visiting or students can post?
Yes. So we have several Instagram posters that people can jump in. I think there are a few at the Welcome Center. I think Dean Labouty and his team actually brought in something else new at the beginning of last year, which unfortunately has not been able to see the light of day because we haven't been able to have anyone come. So there are certainly a lot of opportunities with social that we can expand upon. And so Karina and the team, if you have other ideas on ways to expand some of those influencer opportunities, we would welcome those. At the same time, we like to temper, what we're putting out there and making sure that it's all on brand and, on brand, really.
This is Barbara. Is admissions tracking why students aren't selecting to come so that we know that information and you can target and maybe tweak your messaging?
Yeah, I was actually going to answer that a few minutes ago too. I know that Dean Labouty and his team track that very closely. And so while I don't have those answers right off the top of my head, we do kind of circle back with him every year. And I think that we could probably get some of that information about why we may be losing students to other institutions. Does that answer your question? That is all I have. Does anybody else have any questions?
Thank you very much, Heather. I think here lots to think about. So there may be some follow-up questions as people absorb your presentation, and we'll be sure to share it with committee members following. Thank you very much to both you and to Linda. If we have no further questions, I will turn it over to Kelly Mahoney for our next two updates. Thanks again.
Thank you, Christine.
Good morning, everybody. So two important and ever-changing updates this morning. The first relates to the government relations strategy for the university for this current year. And the second topic relates to the special election that is taking place in Rhode Island on March 2nd. So I'll start with the government relations. For those of you in Rhode Island, there's just nothing going on. It's very quiet. No. So this has been a pretty incredible experience over the last few weeks with a number of major transitions in government and leadership. So I'll walk us through where the university is positioned with each of those and then give you an update on the topics that are under consideration for this year's General Assembly session. So the first, as I'm sure all of you know, Governor Raimondo is headed to Washington, D.C., which is an incredible opportunity for not just the university, but for the entire state. So we're really excited about her future there and how we will hopefully be supportive. With that, Governor McKee will be stepping into office. Governor McKee has been a longtime supporter of the University of Rhode Island. He frequents many of the basketball games, so you probably see him often walking through the stands and saying hi to people. So he has traditionally checked in with the university on a pretty regular basis just to see how we're doing. We anticipate, and again, there's probably odds in Vegas as to when the transition will actually take place. But for now, we're considering probably sometime in February. Governor McKee will step into the role, and we are requesting that we have an introductory meeting with him. For those of you that were in the governance committee meeting earlier this morning, you heard, we're just going to hope to get in the line for a meeting. There's no shortage of people that will be looking for an audience with the new governor. In the university's case, we do actually have some timely topics to discuss with Governor McKee. That includes, we have a number of board appointments that expire in February. And so we'll want to have the opportunity to talk to Governor McKee about either reappointing the existing members whose terms are expiring, or in the case of Cecilia Rouse, we actually do need a new board member to fill her position. So we will get to work very early with Governor McKee regarding the board appointment process. And then at the same time, we just had a major change in the leadership of the House of Representatives in Rhode Island. So we now have a new speaker, majority leader, and leadership team. And we've worked with Speaker Shekarchi for a number of years now in his role as majority leader. He's been a great supporter of the university. He's well briefed on the progress the university has been making. And so we will be working very closely with he and his team this session. Again, we usually meet with both the House and Senate leadership after the budget has been introduced. The budget tends to be the major item the university always wants to brief the House and Senate leadership on. This year, we anticipate the budget likely will not be introduced until sometime in March. So those conversations will be happening a little bit at a delayed pace than a typical year. And then finally, the General Assembly has announced all of their committee assignments for the year. This is also very important to the university. Some exciting developments are the House of Representatives has now established a committee solely dedicated to education. And we see that as a great opportunity to really be front and center on higher education related issues. The Senate has a standalone education committee that has also spent a lot of time and many years focused on higher education. So these are all very positive developments, I think, for the university overall. We're well positioned with all the leaders of those committees. And every year there are hundreds of bills introduced. I expect this year will be no different. That have some implication for the university. So we spend a lot of time tracking legislation, submitting letters. I know President Dooley is in our meeting here. I can't tell you how many times I've asked him to please testify on something or please sign this letter. We have concerns or we're supportive. Every year the topics are different. This year for legislation, there are two items that could potentially involve the university that we're aware of. The first is there is an ongoing discussion about allowing virtual meetings in perpetuity. Right now, Rhode Island law actually prohibits public meetings to be held virtually. Governor Raimondo has continued to extend the executive orders that allow for these meetings that we're in right now to take place legally. And based on the experience of, city and town governments, nonprofit organizations, and organizations like ourselves, there is a growing recognition that virtual meetings can work. And so President Dooley and I had been promoting the need for this prior to the pandemic, believe it or not. We recognized that with our new board and sort of the geographic diversity of our membership, there was an opportunity to test or pilot open meetings in a virtual setting. We had very positive meetings with both Common Cause of Rhode Island and the ACLU. They provided some good feedback. And then the pandemic hit. And so that particular piece of legislation was not introduced last session, but it gives us a jumping off point to work with the various organizations that are interested in putting this into place in perpetuity. So that could be a potential topic that we are involved in this year. And another is, and these are the quirky things that we deal with, there are some limitations to the electrical licenses that the university currently holds that we have been working on for a number of years that allows for flexibility of our certified electrical engineers on campus to be able to do work on campus. We've almost made it to the finish line 2 sessions ago, and unfortunately time was against us. So that could be another topic that gets brought up again this year to try and get it over the finish line. And then, as I mentioned, the biggest item that we always work on every year is the budget. That is where a substantial amount of policy is actually proposed, and we'll be carefully monitoring our state appropriation. That's something that is critical in this time. Many of you have probably seen the report. Rhode Island still faces a very significant deficit, and so there are concerns about how to balance the budget when there is such a deficit. So I'll pause there and see if anybody has questions about government relations for this year.
Just wanted to, well,
Make a couple of comments. Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks, Kelly, and thanks to all of you. I just wanted to emphasize a couple of things that Kelly said. First and foremost, I just want to emphasize to all of you, I probably don't need to do this, but Kelly has been an outstanding representative of the University of Rhode Island, and in all these processes, she's deeply connected, highly regarded inside the State House, both on the administrative and the legislative side. The executive and legislative sides, rather, and she's done an excellent job of positioning us going forward. She mentioned we are going to try to get in to see the new governor, Dan McGee, as soon as possible. I think he'll be inclined to give us some degree of priority in that long line of people who need to see him, given our long relationship. We're certainly hopeful about that. Just to expand on a couple of points that Kelly made. We're very pleased that Chair Abney, who's chair of House Finance, will continue in that role. And as you know, he's a URI alum, has been a strong supporter of the institution. And I think we can anticipate, Kelly, and correct me if I get this wrong, but based on my knowledge of now Speaker Sicarci and his own public statements, I think he'll delegate more than Speaker Mattiello did. And so hence the committee chairs may well have sort of a broader latitude to shape legislation in their particular areas. And that will be particularly important in House Finance, I think. Another, I think, key committee change that we're very pleased about is our local senator, Susan Sosnowski, has been named head of the Senate Commerce Committee. That's a very influential committee in the Senate, puts her in a much more powerful position to guide economic development policy, given URI's engagement with the Commerce Department and many other aspects of economic development at the state. That will be a big advantage. A final thing I just want to note is Governor McKee will be very, very interested, as he has been as lieutenant governor for 6 years, in doing everything he can to help small business in this particular era that we're in. And fortunately for the University of Rhode Island, several years ago, as you were aware, we made a move to bring both the Small Business Development Center and the Manufacturing Extension Center under the URI umbrella. So the Small Business Development Center is now a part of URI, annually receives an annual appropriation from the state. That has grown and has become extremely effective. I think it's the best performance by the SBDC since its inception in Rhode Island right now. And the Manufacturing Extension Center has been rebranded as Polaris. You've undoubtedly seen some of that coverage in the media. That is also doing extraordinarily well in terms of bringing both new funding into the state, primarily from federal sources, as well as building up our capacity for innovative, I think, business development and manufacturing in the state. So we'll be emphasizing those points as we go forward. We think they'll resonate well with the new administration. And we think we're pretty well positioned. I mean, only time will tell what the outcomes will be of the current fiscal climate in which we're seeing. We know that the incoming Biden administration is very, very interested in additional stimulus package. Just as an aside, we'll talk about in the main meeting. We are slated to benefit significantly from the $900 billion package that last Congress passed. Coming to URI will be many millions that will help us through the remainder of this year, and we're very pleased about that. But obviously, the long-term budget climate will depend a lot on the next stimulus bill, if the feds can agree on one, as well as actions by the state legislature and the governor. So thank you. Just wanted to amplify a couple of things and take this point to just thank Kelly again for her extraordinary work with the legislature and the executive branch in positioning URI, I think, to do as well as we can in the current climate. Thank you.
Thank you, President Dooley. And it is a real testament to having wide and deep good relationships that when you do see change on a dime, people who have invested all their eggs in one person or another can find themselves really without entree. And Kelly's wide reputation and serve us well. I also think that change is an opportunity, whether it's at the governor's level, the House Speaker, even though they know us. You have an occasion to reintroduce ourselves, to say we want to come in, brief you on the latest. And so I think we'll be thinking about that in the weeks ahead as all of these changes cycle through. We didn't mention, we mentioned a new governor, but not Gina heading off to Washington and what that will portend as well for the connections between business and higher education that we can stay close to as well. So I will, for the record, we can congratulate our governor on her ascension to Secretary of Commerce. And then any other questions for Kelly on this piece before we hear about the bond issues? Armin, I would love to just hear some wisdom from you. You are so close to these issues and to so many at the State House. What should we be thinking about?
Well, first of all, I want to say also, Kelly does a great job for us there. We're all sad we're happy for Governor Raimondo. We're sad also because she's done so many good things, raised the bar so high on things to be done in Rhode Island. I think it's from my point of view anyways, a new speaker, that's going to be a good thing. I think we all know Speaker Sakachi well. He'll do a great job. He's picking great chairmen of all the different boards that he has. President Ruggiero, he's pretty steady as we go. I know as Kelly knows, they're very receptive to the needs of the University of Rhode Island. I know she's going to be talking about the bond that was passed, by the way. President Dooley and Kelly did a wonderful job getting that bond over the top. I want you guys to know that this was not an easy one. Given the pandemic, given the mood, the president of the Senate and the incoming House Speaker both had reservations on it, but they plowed through and they got it out. And so therefore it will be a special election. What'd you say, in March, correct? The special election's in March. So I'd love to hear about what we're going to do for marketing and public relations, probably more than we've ever done. And I know building trades out there are going to be part of this also, as they've always had to support the growth of the University of Rhode Island. So I think we got to get in with the new governor. Dan, I think I've already heard from all of you, very responsive guy, very tough being lieutenant governor of the state of Rhode Island. It's just tradition that the governor kind of boxes out the lieutenant governor, but he has been there. He has been paying attention. He'll do a good job. And I'm sure he's going to pick up a lot of the programs that Gina already started. So we got the staff on board. They're taking care of business. And we're just going to keep our agenda going. I have one question, though, of Kelly. Just run that by me again on the certified electrical engineer program you were trying to get through.
Sure, I can send you the language, Armin. So we had some limitations on the type of electrical work that our employees could do on campus. There is some ambiguity in the law as to the certain thresholds, both dollar amount and types of projects that our licensed electrical engineers can actually perform on campus. The reason why it has been a problem for the university over many years is small dollar projects that would require us to go out to bid. Believe it or not, a lot of people and contractors do not want to come all the way to Kingston to do a small job. And so there were many projects at times where we were really struggling to actually complete a project because our licensed electricians were not authorized to do the work, and no one really wanted to do the work because of traveling to Kingston. It's a very Rhode Island situation, I understand. So I can brief you offline if you'd like about the legislation and talk you through where we ended with it last time.
Did anybody line up against that legislation last time?
Yes, some of the independent contractors were very concerned that it would limit the number of jobs that were available from the university. So yes, there were definitely concerns.
Electrical union, did they line up or they stayed silent?
They did not publicly testify, but there were concerns.
Okay, all right.
But we can talk about it.
We can talk about that. From another meeting, are we looking also to raise the threshold that we don't have to go through appropriations on certain things? Would that help?
Is this related to purchasing?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is a conversation I believe that the full board will be taking a look at related to the purchasing regulations that the board has authority to adopt. I have to look at the agenda. I'm not sure if it's up for this coming board meeting or.
Kelly, it's on the agenda for finance today.
Yeah, that's why I picked it up. Something that we can talk about also, because I think there's definitely an appetite to be able to raise that threshold, seeing that we're so low compared to other universities and colleges, and that they've never looked at it themselves in the legislature. So they need to raise it for them also. So I think we can talk about piggybacking on that.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Armand. I think that the current numbers in the law date from the late 90s, which means if you apply inflation, you would have to at least double all of those numbers just to give us the same power that we enjoyed when the law was written.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk. Kelly, you and I will talk about that.
Great.
Kelly, thank you for the update. The other thing I just want to mention is I'm thrilled to see that Senator Sandra Cano is the new chair of the Education Committee on the Senate side. I think Sandra is a great champion for our community and a great champion for the university. So thrilled on the House side to see leadership updates, and also at the same time, I think she's filling great shoes with Senator Gallo, Chairwoman Gallo, but I think Chairwoman Cano is ready and excited to interact and collaborate with our organizations. The other thing I'll just mention is I know there's many organizations who are supporting a Yes on All 7 campaign. The AFL-CIO Rhode Island is one of those groups to support all the bonds and really get the word out on the importance of voting in this special election. So thanks, Kelly, for all your work.
Great, thank you everybody, and thank you for the compliments. It's appreciated, and I'm sure you could see my face turned red. So thank you all very much. I couldn't do it. Honestly, the great thing in any transition of government, there are a lot of public servants that provide continuity, their institutional knowledge, and so, you know, many of them we hope to stay in key roles. It's a partnership, really. So there are a lot of great people behind the scenes in all of these branches of government that are true public servants, and they rarely, if ever, get the credit or are on the radar, but they're critically important. So we're fortunate to have people like that to partner with. Chair, if it's okay, I'll transition to our final topic on the agenda. An update on the Rhode Island Higher Education Bond Initiative. So the Secretary of State has announced that every registered Rhode Island voter will receive a mail ballot application. Voters have the option of voting by mail or voting early in person 20 days prior to the March 2nd election, or voting in person at a polling place on the day of election. Polling places will be very limited for this special election. A lot of them will likely be just your city or town hall clerk's office. Believe it or not, the deadline to register to vote in this election is coming up on January 31st. And the deadline to submit your mail ballot application is February 9th. So we will be running a campaign at lightning speed this time around. Thankfully, we have a lot of experience doing these special bond advocacy campaigns. So we're pretty much dusting off our previous strategies and just pressing go. Early in-person voting begins February 10th and ends March 1st. And then, as I said, the polls are open on March 2nd from 7 to 8 p.m. As some of you have noted, there are 7 questions on this ballot. The good news is the higher education bond question is question 1. So this is always, if you're into ballot politics, you always want to be very high in that number. So we are fortunate to be question 1. There are concerns about a special election that is only solely dedicated to spending, particularly in this environment right now. So we will be working really hard to just get out the vote for those that we know we can always rely on and are always very supportive. It's important that they get out the vote. So the question is for $107 million to support projects at all 3 state public institutions. It includes the URI Fine Arts Center that we've discussed in previous meetings. It includes the Clark Science Building at Rhode Island College. And then finally, renovations at all 4 campuses of the Community College of Rhode Island. So it is a very diverse set of higher education projects that are going to be included in the question. And again, when you vote yes on one, you're supporting all of those projects at all 3 institutions. So whenever we do a bond campaign, we definitely rely very heavily on our built-in alumni network. Those that have had an experience with the university or the colleges who still are registered voters in Rhode Island, we're fortunate to have that built-in network available to us. We always leverage the focus of these bonds on what we've talked about previously, which is raising the awareness of the university and its success. We also work really hard to get key industry endorsements for bonds. So if you'd like, I'll just quickly walk you through some of the key strategies and tactics that we'll be using really over the next month. I mean, it's hard to believe we're this far into January already. We always establish campaign objectives and really a campaign working group. In this instance, it will include liaisons and advisors from all 3 schools. The 3 schools have already met over the last 2 weeks a number of times to strategize and discuss how to start the campaign and what will be included in it. We have, because of changes to the bond advocacy campaign laws in previous years, we do actually have to establish a separate standalone 501c4 that does all of the advocacy and expenditures for the campaign. Thankfully, we already have that established from a previous campaign. It's Rhode Islanders for Higher Education. So we don't have to adapt that every single year with a different question number. It's general enough. And so we will have a few volunteers be the board of directors for that organization during the campaign. And we start with a fundraising appeal. Campaigns cost money, and we have been very fortunate that we've had a number of donations provided to us over the years. I know Lil and Al are on this call. The foundation and alumni engagement of the university has been a very strong supporter of the campaigns in every year, every 2 years. And so Lil is aware that this is likely coming. Rhode Island College Foundation as well as CCRI Foundation are also going to be soliciting donations. And then there have been community organizations and labor, organized labor unions that have been supported in the past. So very quickly, we will do a fundraising appeal. The budget usually will then help determine what the final strategy is and what funds we have available to spend. We cannot spend any state or federal money on a campaign, and we can't utilize any state or federal resources, including human resources, for the campaign. So we do have to be very cautious. Some years we hire a campaign marketing and advertising firm to help with the content creation and advertising. We've hired campaign finance firms to help do all of the expenditure reporting, which becomes very rigorous towards the election day, where you have to start filing campaign reports every 24 hours. So it gets fast and furious towards the end. We always have a web page. We're always very present on social media. Social media will be challenging in this environment. Many of you probably know Facebook and Twitter instituted some very strict regulations related to advocacy for political purposes. So, typical political ads that we may have seen in past years are now banned and prohibited on some of these platforms. So we will be looking very carefully at what our digital and social media strategies can achieve. We have TV, as you heard in our previous presentation with Heather and Linda. TV is great, but it's very expensive. And so again, a lot of our strategy around possible TV will be determined more on the budget we have available. And so we'll be working on that. We also, in the past, have done a poll to determine what messaging points resonate most with voters that can be persuaded to vote yes, and what message points are strong with those we always rely on. So again, it's not clear yet if we'll be doing a poll. We're looking at the possibilities and resources available. And then finally, it's everything you can imagine as it relates to organizing. President Dooley, he's here, he knows, in a typical year, we'd call it the road show, and he would turn into a politician for a few months. And he would be presenting at every Rotary Club, Chamber of Commerce event, nonprofit organization board meeting. It was a very rigorous sort of public presentation. A number of the Rhode Island League of Women Voters many times held forums that he would present at. So this virtual environment changes some of that, obviously. Sorry, President Dooley, you won't get to do that this time. But nonetheless, a lot of those organizations are still meeting virtually. And so there may be an opportunity during the month of February, as people are filling out their mail ballots, to connect with those key organizations and community networks that we will be looking to do just like we would any year. We also tend to do a number of letters to the editor, not just in the Providence Journal, but there are still a number of local newspapers that are very popular. So we look to put letters to the editor there. And many times we ask those letters are written by sort of neutral third-party supporters of the university. So it's not the university asking for people's support, but it's key influencers in Rhode Island. We also work really hard to get private industry and labor union endorsements, because they then help spread the word within their organizations to vote yes on one. So we'll be working on that. And then, of course, again, a very Rhode Island thing is lawn signs. Lawn signs are just a big deal. Lawn signs don't vote, but they're very popular. And so every year we work in a bond campaign to make sure we do have lawn signs available. And believe it or not, they go out the door pretty fast when they come in. I know Linda's still in this meeting, and they tend to live in Linda's office, and she would get a lot of visitors. So we'll be working on, including that in the strategy this year. We always look for earned media opportunities. Even just having the university in the media with our name out there is helpful, even if it doesn't relate to the bond. Keeps us top of mind with people. And so these are sort of the high level tactics we'll be working on really over the next 2 weeks. It's gonna be really fast. I'll be sure, even if we don't have a meeting prior to the election, I share with you the package of materials. I know this committee has been great about being ambassadors for the university. That'll be really important for something like this. in that, we're really going to need to spread the word to community members to ensure that they vote, because this is a special election and because of both the local and national environment right now. I'm not sure a lot of people are eager to participate in government. And so this is going to be important for us, really to generate some strong support to ensure it passes. So with that, I'll stop there and answer questions people may have.
Kelly, I don't know if you may have said this, but is there a minimum amount that needs to vote? Like, you need not a minimum amount to votes in favor, but do you have to have is there a certain threshold of number of voters overall?
No, it just is you have to get to the 50% threshold of those that voted.
Okay. And also, Christine, I don't know if you've planned to have Kelly in the board meeting on this during your committee summary, but it might be worthwhile just to spend a couple of minutes on this directly from Kelly.
I actually think both the pieces, the changes in state government as well as the bond issue and plans around it, Kelly does by practice generally staff that portion of our updates, but I do think I think we should anticipate questions and prepare accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Ahmed. The dynamics of this special election is so different from anything we've ever experienced. There's no candidates on the ballot here. There's only bond issues. It's all about getting out the vote. I don't even think we could put a number on it. The other dynamic is it's mail ballot, so if we're pushing our voters to vote, someone has to really just be dead against a bond issue for whatever reason to actually send that mail ballot in or show up. So again, it's nothing we've ever experienced before, but I think what Kelly just laid out, we got a plan. The other side won't have a plan to deny this bond issue, but we do. And that's, I think, what it's all about.
Agreed. Any other questions for Kelly or Armin or Margot or the president?
This is Karina. Just curious, being clear across the country, has there been unrest at the Capitol, or are they planning any protests there?
We have been fortunate. No, there has not been. Unfortunately, Governor Raimondo's home has been a place that has received some attention, over the last couple of months, really. And that's always very troubling. As of right now, we had an update last night. There currently are not any credible threats or plans known for Rhode Island's capital or any of the major capitals in our region, but it's still kind of early. Plans can develop, as we've seen, very rapidly. Thankfully, our URI police department is connected to the State Police Fusion Center, where all of that situational awareness intel is shared confidentially. And in my conversations with them just 2 days ago, as of right now, thankfully, we do not have concerns, but they get regular briefings leading up to some of the dates that have been suggested in the national media.
Thanks for your question. I think if there are no further questions for Kelly, I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, did someone?
No, it's Ahmed, so moved.
All right, do we have a second on the motion to adjourn?
This is Courtney, I'll second.
Thank you. And with thanks to our West Coast board member for her early, we owe you a coffee cup and some good ground coffee beans for joining us at this hour. And we will therefore adjourn. The next URI Board of Trustees University Advancement and External Affairs Committee meeting is scheduled for April 22nd, 2021. Hopefully we will be in person, even with masks, and working increasingly toward a resume to normal life, in part due to and see you all later in the day.
Thanks so much. Take care, everybody.